Welcome to Parkrun Adventurers episode 180, only 4 more episodes away from a Christmas episode, but that's not actually a number, and I don't want you to be confused and think it's only episode 180. It's actually episode 185. I am Mel, co-host of this wonderful little podcast, and joining me this week we have the wonderful Tok.
Woohoo! I'm here right with you, the magnificent Mel. How are you today?
I am fabulous, Tok. So excited to be here. Very excited also to have you join me. Did you know, and this is why I'm starting to talk about Christmas, the first Ugly Christmas singlet delivery has been confirmed.
I actually did see a photo of it tonight hanging up in somebody's wardrobe, and I think they're very excited. They're going away, and it arrived before they left.
How did you see a photo? Where did you see it?
Oh, Mel, come on! It's on one of the. It's actually one of the adventurers chat groups that I'm on. We have chat groups within chat groups.
Well, we received the same photo, I believe, sent directly to the Adventurers inbox on Facebook. And I was very excited, especially given that it is in a completely different state than it would have originated in. It's gone to New South Wales, straight out of Victoria. So we're recording, peeling the curtains back here on a Monday night this week. And the singlets weren't even due to be shipped until Wednesday. So our supplier Ventu has been a little bit sneaky and started the posting a bit early, which I'm excited about because that just means everyone's going to be getting their ugly goodies so much earlier. Oh, so excited.
And there has been a bit of discussion about how they've got to Sydney quicker than they managed to get to Melbourne when they're based in Melbourne. So there's a very excited young lady in Sydney that has her ugly singlet.
Yes, and hopefully that also means that all the international orders have already gone because I'm assuming, I don't even need to assume, we were told that they would be given priority so that they arrived in time. And I would love to hear from anybody else who's already got theirs. Start sharing your pics, guys, because it just makes me more and more excited for Christmas and our inaugural International Ugly Christmas Singlet Day.
And that would be on the 21st, Mel.
Yes, the 21st of December, counting down the sleeps. I'm very excited to be in December as well. There's just excitement. There's so much Christmas happening. And I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I am one of those people who listens to Christmas podding every week. Vanessa and Liam get the pod out usually on a Thursday or a Friday, and I've listened to it within a couple of hours. And yeah, so excited for Christmas. We've got our Christmas tree up. Are you excited for Christmas, Tok?
I'm looking forward to Christmas. It's a great time of the year where you get to go and do a little bit of exploring while you're on holidays, maybe get out and have an adventure or two, and generally just wind down at the end of the year. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yes, I love the festive season. And when you say adventure or two, there's usually 3 when you can add an extra event on at Christmas and 2 on New Year's Day. Do you know where you're going to be doubling it this year yet? Or next year, I should say?
There's a bit of a rumour that we might be adventuring into the ACT to get a couple of runs up in the ACT. So it should be a bit of an adventure. We've got 2 events in the northern country in Victoria that we need to do, so we thought we might travel up, do one of those on the way up, do the double in the ACT, and do the other one on the way back home. So we get 4 events in a week.
I like your style.
How good's that?
It's awesome. It is the most wonderful time of the year, for sure. However, we still do have a few weeks of just regular fun times at Parkrun between now and then. And I heard from a little birdie that you were at a new one last weekend. Where were you on Saturday, Tok?
Mel, we adventured up to Aurora, which is in the northern suburbs of Melbourne in a town called Epping. It's a 4-lapper around a bit of a creek. It has a couple of bridges, just about every park run now, it's almost like there's a legacy that's been left by Scott. Every park run seems to have a bridge or two that I've been to lately. A lovely little event. I think we had 52 people there on the day, 52 finishers. And it was just a really great little day, really great place to go and have breakfast afterwards. We got to talk to a few people we hadn't met before. And that's one of the great things about parkrun, as you know, is you rock along to the breakfast, you rock along to parkrun, you just talk to people that you wouldn't walk up to in a street and start talking to.
I don't think we've heard about Aurora on the pod before. Every time I hear the name, it makes me think of Briar Rose from the Disney Sleeping Beauty movie. Are there any Disney princesses running around?
No, and there was no tutus on the weekend either. I should have rectified that. I've probably let the team down a little bit there.
Do you not have a spare one in your car?
No, look, unfortunately, they were all in the wash from the week before at Inverloch where we had Pacers, so we all had our tutus on for the Pacer week.
Well, that's fair enough.
And how about you, Mel? I hear you've been down to Golden Beach. How was that park run?
It was great. We decided it was a little bit of a late change of plans on Friday. We were umming and ahhing about whether or not we head down to Brisbane once more to get another new event crossed off the list. But the boys have been a little bit challenging lately, especially with our living in a state that does not have daylight savings time and them wanting to get up with the light, despite the fact the light is up at 4:30 in the morning, 4:45. So we opted instead for a little bit more of a sleep in, and by sleep in I mean a lie in, because we're never asleep anymore, and stuck home or stuck close to home and headed to Golden Beach instead of Brisbane. And this one had another dual purpose of catching up with family, because Adam's sister and her husband run down at Golden Beach. They used to run at Kawana before Golden Beach launched, but it's much closer to their home now, so that's where you can find them every week. And this is one of the other things that I love about parkrun, is literally we catch up with family more frequently than we would otherwise, just by going and having a run with them on a Saturday morning and then having a coffee or in my case, iced chocolate this week to cool down after the event. And yeah, it was a good morning. We had fun. Karen and Andrew took Wes in the pram, so Adam got to have a run and went and enjoyed a nice walk along. It's an out and back course. I'm not sure if we've spoken about Golden Beach before. We must have a couple of years ago, I think, because I used to be their event ambassador. And yeah, lovely wide course, very welcoming, friendly crew. Of course, the volunteers are always that way. And but it was hot, Toc. It's only got it's a very flat course. It's got something like 4 meters of elevation over the whole thing, which I think is one little 2 meter rise that you go up and then down, and so that's classified as the elevation, if that's how elevations work. Somebody will probably correct me. However, it was just really hot, and I wanted to jump in the water at the end, but I was not appropriately attired to do so. So next time I'm going to remember to take my togs.
Fair enough. It sounds beautiful up there. Victoria put its best welcome to summer weekend on this weekend and turned cold.
Yes.
There was no jumping in the water down here.
This allegedly great estate seems to be very confused about its seasons.
Yes, no, we were much warmer back in September, October than we are in December, so it'll change. You talked about Aurora giving you different visions. I saw that you're at Golden Beach, and I had in my mind's eye this little seaside hamlet with 30 or 40 people running around a park run, and when I looked up the stats for Golden Beach, it's quite a big one.
Yeah, it's the biggest on the Sunshine Coast and has been for several years now. And yeah, it definitely accommodates the larger attendance numbers that they get, while still sort of maintaining that very strong community feel about it, which is always good.
Yeah, sweet. Sounds good. Another one to have a go onto the list. The trouble is, as you know, those lists just get longer and longer.
They do indeed.
Good morning, parkrun adventurers. It's Lyndall, and I'm checking in this morning from Ros Gregor Trail parkrun in Nanango in Queensland. Clearly last week becoming a pirate wasn't enough because I've come for another R. But I won't subject you to that again. Don't worry. Enough pirate accents for a little while. So Ros Gregor Trail parkrun has launched 6 or 7 weeks ago. A bit of a sad story about the number of runs here. I've been planning this trip for a little while to get my 7 for my Wilson Index. And unfortunately, due to the bushfires in regional Queensland, the parkrun was cancelled last week. So this week is actually parkrun 6. So now I've got more than 1 6 and no 7. So sad story on the Wilson Index front, but that's okay. I'm here. And look, it looks like a lovely little spot to run through the gum trees here in Nanango. Let me just check in. I'll do the check out the briefing so I don't get lost. Have a bit of a run and I'll check in with you later. All right, post parkrun, I've found a few of the local parkrun ladies. What's your name?
Carly, Casey, and Prue.
And?
Ros.
Ros. Now, Ros, is this trail named after you?
No. After another counsellor that was in council years ago.
So does that mean you're a counsellor?
I am.
Excellent, thank you. Have you been supporting parkrun?
Most definitely. I think this is great for Nanango.
It sure is. Now, the rest of you ladies, what's your story? Your parkrun story. How did you get?
Oh no, I've got a friend that lives here that does them, so she conned me into it, and this is my third run.
Yeah. So you live not in Nanango but in Kingaroy, which is just up the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Kingaroy.
And how are you enjoying parkrun?
Yeah, I love it. It's really good. Yeah. Social fitness and social, and it's good. Starts your weekend off good.
Sure does, and it's done by 8 o'clock. You can go and have a coffee and get on with your life.
Start on the junk food then. No, joking.
And how about you? Similar story or?
Yeah, this is my second parkrun, I think. Yeah. Just come over for a bit of a run. Yeah. Fitness, It's good.
And what do you like about it?
Just the social of it.
Yeah.
And it's relaxed. Yeah.
Pretty fun. I haven't seen anyone that's not smiling this morning, so that's a good start, isn't it? Yeah. And how about you?
I think this is my 4th park run. So I got into it because I've just started a fitness journey, trying to train for a 10k run next year at the Gold Coast. So, awesome. But yeah, only my first 5Ks I did, I think, about 2 months ago. I've never been a runner, so but my partner started park runs in Miles, so their company over there support them to do that for the local community. Yeah.
Cool. So when it started here, you had no choice.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So when he's home, we do it together.
Yep. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for having a chat to me today on the Parkrun Adventurers.
It's okay.
Once you start getting out and maybe head out to another couple of parkruns in the local area, have you ever thought about that?
I want to try the Wandai one. I haven't done the Wandai one yet, so that'll be my next one, I think. Yep. Give it a whirl.
Yep. Any other ideas?
You've done Harvey Bay?
I've done Harvey Bay. It was beautiful. The scenery was, a lot different to here, that's for sure.
I thought this was really nice in through all the trees and the gum trees. It's really beautiful, but very different along the water, isn't it?
It is. It was beautiful that time. So, and a lot flatter in Harvey Bay, compared to here. Yep.
Oh, yeah, that uphill. Holy smokes. You turn off the main road and you just run uphill for half a kilometre. No one told me about that. Just wanted my money back at that point. All right, ladies. Well, I'll let you get on with your day. Thanks for having a chat. And happy park running.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Parkrun Adventurers, I haven't tracked her down. She tracked me down. Welcome, Belinda, to the Parkrun Adventurers.
Hello.
Now, you have a story to tell.
I do.
I thought my tourist streak of 23 was pretty awesome. Where are you at today?
102.
And how many parkruns have you done in total?
103.
And when do you foresee this tourist streak ending? Is it going to go forever?
I don't think it can go forever. I live Brisbane South Side, and my next closest ones now are Bundaberg and Grafton and Charlie's Creek at Chinchilla.
Yeah, so they're weekends away, really.
Yeah, not morning of.
No. All right, so you've driven up to Ros Gregor Trail this morning?
Yes, 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Excellent. So how many Ks have you to put on your car doing all of this?
Oh, good question. A lot.
Yeah. And so out of all this adventuring, do you have any favourite park runs that you've done?
Everyone is different for a different reason. There's things that I like about particular parkruns. I definitely am drawn to bush and water, but like there's some really beautiful ones around Australia.
Yeah. This one's pretty nice.
It ticks the bush boxes. It's definitely us, and mostly flat, except for the sneaky decline and an incline.
Oh, I don't know. That when you turn off the main road and head out onto it was all uphill for a very long way.
You still class that as pretty flat. Some of the ones I've done, this is pretty flat.
Yeah. Oh, this is flat. Yeah, my home's Bunyaville, so go figure.
Bunyaville was one of my first park runs that I did in Brisbane.
And you haven't been back since. See, this is where you started your tourist streak. You're like, gee, I'm not going back there.
No. I really like Bunyaville. I would go back to Bunyaville.
Excellent. And do you have any tips for parkrun adventurers?
Find yourself a buddy to travel with.
Good tip.
Find yourself some family members who live in locations that you can get free accommodation. And get out and meet the people. Enjoy. There's some beautiful parkruns around.
And lots of friendly parkrunners.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right. Well, Belinda, thank you so much for saying g'day and telling your story on the Parkrun Adventurers podcast. And hopefully I'll see you at another parkrun soon.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got a treat, Parkrun Adventurers. I found Trevor Adams. He's the first finisher today, and usually by the time I finish, the first finishers have all, gone home, had a shower, had breakfast, and read the paper. But Trevor's still here.
Still here. Just encouraging everyone to finish past the line. So yeah, still here, clapping along. So it was good. It was a good run today. The time, it's a hot day. Wasn't the best time, but no, it was a really good run.
That's all right. You were smiling out there, so
Always
you obviously
smiling.
Enjoy your parkrun.
Yeah, absolutely. So always smiling, always trying to encourage others. I think it's good to see other people out there. So everyone's got their limit, and just because I happen to be at the front doesn't mean that it's not everyone pushing to their best ability. So.
Yeah, and there's a nice crowd here just standing around cheering everyone across the finish line. That's a really nice touch.
Yes, yeah, no, this generally happens per week, so this is probably about my 8th one since it started up, so I really enjoy coming here. So at the moment, both myself and my wife were actually training to do a marathon in about 2 weeks' time in Hawaii. So
in Hawaii. Oh, so, fantastic.
Yes, so that should be really good. So 5 kilometres is quite a nice jog in the morning, just to warm up for the day. But
so warming up for your long run or doing your speed work?
Long runs at the moment. So we did a 32 last weekend, and about a month ago I actually did around 42 kilometres, just as a bit of a training. So it was tough. So I'm not.
Is it your first marathon?
First marathon.
Yes,
so,
I can see the nerves in your face.
yes, because I realised when I did the practice one, I got to about that 37 k's, and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. All the muscles start like freezing up and stuff, and the breathing was still okay, but the muscles, they certainly weren't carrying me home very well. So, yeah.
What about the mental side? That's what's important.
Mental side's good. So mental, definitely like pushing through it, making sure that stay hydrated and everything. So I've been doing some research and everything. So mentally strong should be really good. And I'm hoping the environment and everything and the weather's nice. So should be good. We'll see.
It sounds like you're very prepared.
Yeah, prepared but nervous. Always nervous.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, I'm sure that the whole community here at Ros Gregor Trail Parkrun are going to be right behind you and your wife.
Yeah.
And that'll be something else that can help keep you going on race day, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you for having a chat with me on the Parkrun Adventurers. Right. Well done on your first finisher today.
Thank you very much.
And hopefully I'll see you at another parkrun.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay, now adventurers, I've tracked down Therese, our run director for today, and event director, is that fair to say?
That's correct. Run director and event director, yep, big title.
Chief park runner.
That's it, chief park runner.
And you started Ros Gregor early in October.
We did. It all eventuated with a post on Facebook, believe it or not, on New Year's Eve about something positive we could bring to our community. So I suggested that I'd like a park run, and somebody told me to put my money where my mouth is. So that's how it all started. Yeah, it's great thing for the community. It's bringing a lot of people together and giving a lot of people purpose, which is what the whole idea of it is. Yeah.
And that was your main focus, not more so than the running?
Yep, more so than the running. I've walked around town for 12 years doing long distance walking. A lot of people have approached me to help, and we invite them to come, but they get a little bit overwhelmed with the distance that we do and the hills. So this is one way we can have everyone being involved and included. So it's great.
And running or walking at their own pace.
Yep, no matter what, you can run, hop, skip, jump. We don't mind. Everybody's welcome at parkrun.
Now, it looks like you've achieved your goal of having a nice community event here.
Yes, we have, and we've got a very overwhelmingly big number of volunteers, which is fantastic.
And here they come now, the tail walker and a couple of our trail masters.
Well done, guys! Good job. And hopefully I'll win the volunteer tally count. Every week we have a volunteer tally count of how many people we've got. Whoever wins with that gets a free coffee. So a bit of luck, I'll be in today.
And it's a big contingent of volunteers you've got.
We do, and I still have more. So we don't say no to anybody volunteering. We encourage, we make a position available. So that's the whole purpose of it.
That's fantastic, and I tell you what, they were so encouraging out on course, so they get 2 thumbs up from me for their spirit.
Thank you. Yes, they are very encouraging.
Fantastic, and you get a few fast runners here as well?
We've got a couple of our local people that aren't here today that hold our records, young Matthew Rankin and Kirsten O'Connor. But yeah, we have quite a few athletes in Nanenga, believe it or not. We do, just not the run director.
Fantastic. All right, well, thank you so much, Therese, for having the vision of starting a park run here in Nanenga, and well done on getting it up off the ground. It's a really nice event. I've had a really lovely morning here.
I'm pleased you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for coming.
Alrighty, parkrun adventurers, that is a wrap from me, Lyndall, from Ros Gregor Trail parkrun in Nanenga, where I met a Ros but not the Ros. Had a chat to our first finisher and met Belinda, the parkrun adventure extraordinaire, 102 tourist streak. How is that? So what a great morning here in the bush out at Nanenga for Ros Gregor Trail parkrun. This is Lyndall signing out for the Channel 5 News Crew.
Hi, I'm Scott, and I am reporting in this week from Byxbee Parkrun, which is in Palo Alto in California. So this is the second parkrun in California, and it's probably up around, I think, probably getting close to 50 events in the US now. So it's really great to see it growing here. As I'll introduce, this parkrun has quite an Australian feel to it, with a number of the key people involved in setting it up and running it being Australian. So it's located beside the bay in the south part of the Bay Area here in south of San Francisco, and it's really great to see another event starting here. Okay, we've just finished Byxbee Parkrun number 11, and I'm here talking with the event director, Sarah. So Sarah, you're from Australia and you've come over here and brought parkrun to your community. So tell us how that happened.
Well, that's right. So I used to run Curl Parkrun in Sydney, and I started there in 2014. And so it's been a big part of my life. I've done 140 parkruns.
Wow.
And about 12 different locations. So leaving Australia and coming to America was a big decision. And one of the things I definitely missed the most was my Saturday morning parkruns. So I got in touch with Parkrun USA and said, hey, is there any plans to start one in the Bay Area? And they said, oh, actually, there's another guy who's keen to do that. So that was how I met Sam, who's the other event director here at Byxbee. And we started scouting for a location. It took about 6 to 12 months, and after lots of negotiations with the local city and the rangers, we managed to get Byxbee up and running here. So we
and Sam's Australian as well.
He is. So he's from think his home parkrun in Australia was Brightwater in Queensland. So,
Okay.
So we didn't know each other before we met through parkrun, but that's what parkrun does. It gets you in contact with people.
And have you got some Americans involved in running it now?
We have a few. Some of our volunteers definitely are locals, which is wonderful. We have a lot of local expats. So there's a lot of people from the UK and Australia and who are living in the Bay Area, but are very aware of parkrun from their home country.
Okay.
And we also get quite a lot of tourists. So we've had tourists from Russia and South Africa come just to visit us, which is amazing. But every week we're picking up more locals, which is the best of all, because that's what we want. We want local people to come and join us.
Yeah, and the course I found today was great. It's very accessible, and you're seeing a growth in the number of walkers here.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're definitely seeing a lot more people coming in and walking. We're seeing lots more under 11s coming to join us, which is wonderful. We have quite a lot of dogs who come and run with us as well, and that was a really big thing we had to make sure, because not all of the trails here are dog friendly. So that was one of the big attractions of Byxbee, that we could have everyone come and join us.
Yeah. And what do you see as the benefits for you? Have you met people here in the community through parkrun?
Absolutely. So a couple of things for me. So one was learning how the city of Palo Alto worked and getting to meet some of the people who work in the recreation department. That was really interesting. And another one was I've definitely met quite a few people who live in my local area and the neighbouring cities, and I've met some brand new friends, which is lovely, and that's why I love parkrun. It's very good. I think I feel the same, and sure many of the people listening do. And for the listeners, when I was coming here, I looked up your record before, because I'd seen that you'd done a lot of parkruns, and I actually found out that you'd visited Albert Melbourne Parkrun, where I'm the co-event director, and I was the event director, the run director there the day that you did it, and you were run director here today. So that was a nice bit of symmetry, I thought. Very nice, yes, and it was so nice to have you come and visit us today.
No, that's great. Well, thank you for all you've done for your community. It's really great to see. I really enjoyed it. I'll definitely be back when I'm back in the Bay Area here for work this week, but I'll endeavour to do it again. So thank you, and I really wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us, and thanks for coming to visit Byxbee Parkrun.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, I'm here speaking with Stephanie now, and you have been involved since the start here at Byxbee Parkrun?
I have. It's been amazing. So we're up to 11 parkruns now. So it's been amazing, so positive.
And what roles have you done here?
Everything. So I do all the social media, plus I set the course up I've been doing that for the last few weeks. I've time kept, I've done pretty much everything.
And like several of the others here, you're from Australia. Had you done parkrun in Australia before coming over here?
I have, actually, but most of them I did in the UK. In fact, parkrun was my very first timed run ever. So, I never really lived in Australia where there was one very close, but I'm very involved here. And
so what parkruns had you done in the UK and before you came here?
Richmond was my home parkrun, Richmond Park in London, and it was, it changed my life. It absolutely changed my life.
That's awesome. I think many of the people listening to this will say the same thing. So how long a gap was it between you being in London and doing parkruns there and this one getting set up?
I started in 2012. I had a friend who dragged me very reluctantly to my first parkrun, and I just caught the bug. And then I was there for 7 years, and came back to Australia, and now and then we moved here in April, so I haven't been here that long.
Okay, so your arrival here pretty much coincided with this getting set up.
It was just really good timing.
That's great. And have you found that it's been a way for you to meet people here?
Oh, definitely. And I think, the community spirit in California is actually surprisingly amazing. So the reaction has been wonderful, but I think I didn't know anyone when I moved here, so it's been great to have that core group of people that like-minded.
Yeah, and for those that are listening, talk us through the course here.
It's in Byxbee Park, so it's actually an old waste dump, actually, which sounds horrible, but it's beautiful, and it's just a lovely out and back trail course, completely flat, no traffic. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you've got views over what's become wetlands now. I guess they've let the bay water come in and go over the top of the waste.
Well, it's been 20 years, so, if had no one told you, you wouldn't actually know that. It's really had amazing opportunity for all the wildlife to come back, and it's amazing. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it doesn't at all look like waste. It just looks like part of the bay.
Yeah, it does. So it's great what they've done.
And what sort of reaction have you heard from locals who've discovering parkrun for the first time?
Well, Americans really had no idea about it. They'd never heard of it before. So everyone, people stop us who are just in the bay and who happen to be running past. They want to know all about it, and they're interested. So it's been quite slow growing, but it's, the community is great.
And have you done the one up at Chrissy Field in San Francisco?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so you've got to get your statesperson badge.
I do.
Because I just thought of that before when we were talking, that I had done that a while ago, but now I've, I guess, regained my statesperson status in California by having done all of the parkruns in California.
And there's so many of them, yeah.
Both. So, well, thank you for all that you've done for the community here. I know what a big part of your life parkrun can be, and I think that this is awesome that this is up and running.
Oh, look, me too. Look, I really feel like I owe parkrun so much that it really honestly changed my life, so it's just so good to give back.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks for talking with us today, and good luck with growing the parkrun here.
No problem, thanks.
Good morning, Parkrun Adventurers. It's Melissa here, and I'm coming to you, finally, from Benalla. Beautiful morning here in country Benalla, about 2.5 hour drive this morning up from Melton, and I've got one of the volunteers today here with me. What was your name again?
My name's Robert.
Hi Robert, love your parkrun.
Thank you.
How did you get involved with Benalla?
I moved up here quite a few years ago and heard that they were running a parkrun, and so I thought I'd come along and volunteer.
That's really good. And have you ran parkruns before?
I've gone in a couple where I've been unknown but haven't been registered, but I've not actually competed with my registration.
Okay.
Ever.
And you said to me you're recovering, is that right, from a
That's correct.
operation?
Yes, that's correct. 3 months ago I had a hip replacement, and I'm hoping that within the next month or so I'll be able to get back, and I'll probably do a park run and see what happens.
That's really good. So you must have known the people that were getting it organised?
No, I didn't. I didn't know them from a bar of soap, and I just walked over and said, well, look, because I've come from a running background, I would like to help you out because I think park runs are great, and I have a mate that volunteers a lot and also runs a lot of the park runs down Lilydale Way.
Oh, fabulous. Yeah, it's a really good way to become part of the community, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So can you describe your course for everybody who's listening?
Well, the course actually incorporates part of the lake. We start off at the Botanical Gardens, which is absolutely beautiful. Takes you out along through the Botanical Gardens, around past the Art Centre, which has a boardwalk in front of it, running along the edge of the river. And then it's a bitumen all the way around that follows the lake around, probably for about halfway, where there's a turnaround point, and you come back, running back through, finishing in the Botanical Gardens again.
Yeah, a couple of pretty little bridges and some water lilies.
Absolutely.
Very picturesque. There's a lovely playground right at the start-finish area that Zoe's enjoying very much today, the Rocket Playground.
That's great.
And you've got toilet facilities here.
Yep.
And a covered briefing area as well. So yeah, it's beautiful. So how long did it take them to get it up and running from when the idea was first?
A long time.
Yep.
From what I heard, it was a case of they had 2 or 3 meetings, and it was just a matter of trying to sort out what the requirements are from a park run point of view, and to see if they could actually get it up and running. One of the biggest problems that they had was the fact that I think initially they wanted to run around the lake, which is absolutely magnificent, 4.2k directly around the lake. You incorporate the Botanical Gardens, which would make up your 5k. But unfortunately, we cross a couple of driveways that run into what we call an RV park, and that created a bit of a problem, so we had to make it an out and back course. But it's still very picturesque in that it takes in the southern end of the park, which is predominantly bushland and so forth.
It is. Some of the central country towns, they really do have some of the most prettiest park runs.
Oh, absolutely.
I have found in my travels, so yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for talking to me today.
It's okay.
And good luck with the future of Benalla Parkrun.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm home from Parkrun now, and on the drive home, I had Danny screaming in my head going, "Context, Melissa, context!" And I realised I didn't really state where Benalla Parkrun was. So Benalla Botanical Gardens Parkrun, as it's correctly known, is 212 kilometres northeast of Melbourne, off the Melbourne to Sydney Hume Freeway. Now, Benalla is a beautiful rural country town, and it's known as the Rose City due to its public gardens. And yes, in the area where the parkrun is located, start to finish, there is beautiful rose gardens. And I didn't mention that, so had to add that in. So fabulous morning, 2.5 hour drive home. Paul drove up there, but night shift worker, he was dead on his feet after running parkrun. I walked with Zoe today, so I had the pleasure of driving home. We're home now, another fabulous morning at parkrun. Special shout out to Cam. Cam, wow, you did it. I think, was that like 2 weeks? Not quite long enough for my liking, but still, good job. Especially like that I was one of the roving reporters named by your interviewee. And welcome to the Channel 5 News crew. I look forward to listening to your roving reports from West Australia. That's me signing off. Talk to you all next week.
Oh, what a marvellous set of roving reports we've got there. Lyndall coming in from Ros Gregor Trail Parkrun, who spoke to one of the EDs up there, and some ladies that are relatively new to parkrun. Belinda, who came up with some great tips there, and that's travelling with a buddy. Find a buddy to travel with. And how amazing is it that she's got out and she's over 100 parkruns, but so many of them are different parkruns. She's only repeated 1 or 2.
It's very impressive. And like you say, I do like the tip, get yourself a partner in crime, because I find you tend to get up to more shenanigans when there are other people involved. Is that your experience, Toc?
Yeah, definitely a lot easier to get up and get going in the morning if you've got a long drive, if you've got someone with you too. But as you try to adventure more and more, the parkruns get further and further away. Your Nendi seems to become further and further, so you have to get up that bit earlier. It's great to have someone to travel with.
Yeah, definitely is. And then we had Scott Watkins, and he was at Byxbee Parkrun. I should mention as well that both Lyndall and Scott submitted these roving reports last week, and we did mention that for reasons of brevity we weren't going to include them until this week, because it would have been a bit of a corker of an episode last week and nobody would have listened when they saw it was an hour and a half long. So we took the decision, with the blessing of both Lyndall and Scott, to include their roving reports this week. And as they were relatively timeless, I think it works.
It's really amazing too. The Byxbee Park runs another trail. So we've had Ros Gregor as a trail and Byxbee as a trail. When I started in parkrun, Mel, we seem to be a lot more on concrete and paths. Now we're getting some really great trail runs out there in the mix too.
We are. It's almost like people aren't scared anymore to throw a little bit of difficulty into their events, which is very cool.
And it's the second event in California. Lots of Aussies involved, building that new community around. When you look at their stats, there's a lot of people on 2 and 3 runs. The event's only 12 events old, but there's been 2 Zoolanders there, Mel.
Has there?
So Byxbee's on the map with the Zoolanders. I often think, I wonder how people who are not familiar with the Zoolanders, when they see that one pop up in the results, what sort of curiosity that spikes in them.
Yeah. I don't know what your experience has been, Toc, but I have had a lot of people who get confused about what kids we're running for. How can you think Derek Zoolander, Centre for Kids Who Can't Run Good, is a serious thing? Obviously, they're not into pop culture, and it has been a long time since the original movie was released, so perhaps they missed that one.
Yeah, it was on TV only a couple of weeks ago, though, Mel. It keeps getting the replays.
Well, that's because it's a classic.
Well, I have to agree with you there. Look, we don't see many of the Westerfolds, the movie. I haven't seen that one lately, so Zoolanders are out there.
Exactly. So thanks to Scott for submitting a report from Byxbee. He informs me that of the 5 international events he's done this year, he's submitted roving reports from 3 of them. I would like to know what happened at the other 2 events, because that seems like he's dropping the ball a bit there. But I expect 2020 to have a 100% hit rate there, please, Mr. Watkins.
Could be a big year for Scott. And then we had Melissa down at Benalla Botanical, where she made the big road trip up last week. I had to do the dash back to Euroa after the event was cancelled. She made it there this week.
Great to hear from her, speaking to Robert, who is just another example of the awesome people in the parkrun community. Never participated officially in terms of being scanned in at an event, but is so willing to volunteer and take part in that awesome aspect of parkrun.
And I wonder if Mel actually got to stop and smell the roses. I haven't had a look at her time. Maybe she spent a bit longer in the park, in the botanical section than she normally would on a run.
I think that would be what I would be doing. I've only actually run in one park run that is in a botanical gardens. Have you run in very many, Toc? They always sound so picturesque and beautiful.
Yeah, Melissa, about a month ago we ran at a place called Wilson Botanic, which is down in Berwick, and that's not only through some botanical gardens, but it runs around a lovely lake, over a couple of bridges, so it's got a bit of everything there. But, yeah, beautiful place to run through.
I need to get to more botanical garden park runs.
Now, Mel, in last week's episode, there was a few, I'm not going to call them allegations. I'm not sure what I'd refer to them as, but we sort of cast a bit of a shadow on the newest member of the Channel 5 news crew. And I do understand you haven't got his press pass to him yet, so he's not, he's probably feeling a little bit left out there. But I put on my Inspector Gadget coat and hat and went out and did a bit of parkrun investigating. And we've tracked down Trisha. Trisha does exist. Trisha's actually a bit of a tourist. She's done 106 events, and out of that, she's been to 38 different events. So I reckon she's an adventurer in her own right. And she's the sort of person that would listen to the podcast. So I think Cam might be on the ball there.
So what kind of stalking did you have to do to track Trisha down?
Oh, look, my sources probably wouldn't let me reveal that, Mel. No, look, the Parkrun Adventurers budget didn't extend to flying over in the Learjet over to Perth.
The Parkrun Adventurers budget doesn't extend to staying in the free centre of Melbourne on the trams, I'm afraid. It'd be great if we had a budget. Maybe we should get a sponsor.
Yeah. Let's find someone really impressive. It needs to be perhaps a French sponsor or someone that could justify a trip, back to a base in France or somewhere like that.
I would be totally on board with having a European-based sponsor that would like us to jet on over frequently.
So look, my sources have revealed a little bit of information, and I'm absolutely positive that Trisha exists, and not only that Cameron has jumped into the Channel 5 news crew quite happily, and I think he's going to be a great asset into the team.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that you've been doing some stalking, Doc, because as it turns out, Trisha's a bit of a stalker herself, and this is not something that you would know because it came direct to the Parkrun Adventurers inbox that Trisha also says she exists. We got this message a little bit earlier in the week or over the weekend. Hi guys, I do exist. I met Cam at the Hidden Cafe last Saturday. I recognised him as I had heard his roving report from Shipwreck Parkrun a few weeks ago, which we had been at, and I went through the photos to see what he looked like after hearing his report. Just in case, ... My son and I were at a launch last week, but had popped down to the cafe to catch up with our buddies from Champion Lakes. And then it's that tears of joy emoji. Love listening to your podcast. So I would just like to say, for the record, thank you very much, Trisha, for getting in touch and letting us know that you are not, I don't want to say a figment of Cam's imagination, but that you do exist. You gave us a plausible reason as to why you weren't at Champion Lakes where Cam was.
I felt like I had to defend Cam because, after all, I was one of the two people that Tricia did bring up, myself and Melissa Ellis. So, we had to get on board with the defence there.
Absolutely. And I'm sure Cameron will be very happy to know that his badge, his ID badge, will be in the post just as soon as he gives me his address and bank details.
Bank details, that's a good one.
So, considering we're kind of tying up loose ends here, Tok, some people may have noticed listening last week that we put the poll up from the week before, as per PK's suggestion, about Parkrun the musical. And we wanted to know whether it was a yay or nay. Would people be interested? And we do have the results in from that. Technologically backward me, when I was creating the poll on Facebook, I somehow managed to miss the make this poll only go for 24 hours situation and instead made it run for a week. And once you have created it, you cannot change the duration of said poll, which is why we didn't include it in the podcast last week. So that's why we're going to give you the results now. So I would like to announce that Parkrun the musical, 73% said that'd be cool, as in they would go and watch it, and 27% went meh, not so much. Now, I thought this was interesting, Tok, because obviously it's largely, 3/4 in favour of yes, we want to see Parkrun the musical. And there were lots of fabulous suggestions for songs that could be included, which we'll share in just a moment. But do you think this is indicative of the fact that people love musicals, or the fact that of all the episodes of the podcast where we have had singing with the Channel 5 news crew, people are on board and, they might want us to participate in said musical?
Well, Mel, I think it might be a little bit indicative that it is coming up to that Christmas season, and there has been a bit of a tradition in past years of the Channel 5 news crew making noise. I wouldn't call it singing. It's, in my case, it's definitely not singing. It's more making noise. But I wonder if the other reason that people have, 73% have come out and said, yeah, go for it, is they realise that musicals tend to go for more than one day a week. And is this a way of filling a parkrun void for the rest of the week?
That's a very interesting take on it, Tok. Obviously, people want more parkrun.
I'm wondering how many theatres would be happy to see a whole heap of people turn up in lycra and carrying water bottles.
Going to the theatre in my activewear.
Activewear.
Now, let's get to some of the fabulous suggestions for songs that could be part of the score of said musical. We'll start with Christy Shermer suggested Don't Cry For Me, Timekeeper. I am not going to try and sing that like the Evita soundtrack. I don't think anyone wants to hear that.
No, I think my singing is probably worse than yours, Mel. Michael Gentle suggested Park Running Across the Universe.
That could be a good one. Charlotte Neverson said Run by Snow Patrol for the tearjerker heartbreaky bit. I'm on board with that. Big Snow Patrol fan.
Yeah, Chris Fraser came up with a number of suggestions. One of them, Billy Don't Lose My Barcode by Phil Collins. Let's slow it down a little bit, that one. That could be towards the tail walker end. And speaking of which, we've got These Boots Are Made for Tail Walking by Nancy Sinatra.
Chris Fraser went to town, didn't he? Like he shared so many. And not only did he make suggestions in writing, he actually, it looks like he photoshopped some vinyl records so that the titles read what he wanted them to read. He read all the running puns. And the next one he had was Lycra and Laces by Stevie Nicks.
And not only did he alter the title, he even edited some of the artists as well. So that went down quite well. So we had I Want to Hold Your Hand the under-11s rule for the Beatles.
And also, as PK had suggested, don't you forget about me. And Chris also edited out the artist being your barcode.
We've got a reference, Stephen Tucker, given the hill at Westerfolds, Highway to Hell. We get a bit of a theme going there.
Yes, and Mitch McDonovich, Springsteen's Born to Parkrun. I like it. I mean, it does add another syllable into the song, but I reckon you can do whatever you like with music these days.
Yeah, look, as long as it works and it keeps everyone happy. And Bruce Purdy suggested Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. I'd really love to see a few Kate Bush songs in there. It's someone I used to really enjoy back about 30 years ago.
Well, speaking of that's not quite 30 years ago, but Tracy Wood has suggested, well, she's actually singing the song, Whoa, You're Halfway There, in brackets, Living on a Prayer, for the turnaround.
That'd work at a number of our courses. That'd be a good one.
It would.
Amy Rose O'Hanlon has suggested Don't Rain on My Parkrun. Oh, I think there's a lot of towns in Queensland that actually like that at the moment, Mel.
Yes. And then I love this one, or Hopelessly Devoted to Web FMS, which is the RD's ballad. Now, I like that one because obviously it's taken from another musical somewhere else.
That'd be Grease. Scott Watkins has suggested Paul Dempsey, Fast Friends.
That could be topical. I have lots of friends that are way faster than me.
And Cameron Drake, and this is one of my favourites. I actually read through this and thought this is a cracker. He's got the Book of Parkrun. Hello, today is Parkrun Day, and I'd like to tell you all about our amazing course.
Yes, and then one that we couldn't help but get involved with was Helen Jane Davis shared an old favourite of mine. It's 9:00 on a Saturday. The regular crowd shuffles in. And she said that she hasn't worked out how to change the next line yet, so give her some time. But I couldn't help myself. And I said, well, how about, and I should go and read exactly what I said so that I don't stuff it up.
There's a fast-looking man standing next to me, reading GPS on his Garmin.
There you go. Tok's just done it. And if you didn't already have any of those songs as an earworm, you know that one is going to stick. And you will be singing along to Piano Man for the rest of the day. Now, I loved this whole exercise and all the contributions from everyone who came up with some songs. I'm sure there are a million more out there. I know there's at least a dozen different songs titled Run or Run for Your Life and things like that. So they could all make a play for being included as well. But I do love the ones where people have just altered verses and titles and haven't gone for the obvious things. So thanks very much, everybody, for your contributions. And PK, it looks like everyone wants a musical. Maybe you should be the guy who makes that happen.
PK, our artistic director.
Now, a common theme that seems to be running through many an adventurer's life of late, I have noticed, Tok, is that we're all a little bit fond, or a little bit more than fond, of the running challenges extension. And I know personally it's been delved into by myself of a weekend, and you go down the rabbit hole like Alice did. And there's just so many random things that you can find in there that don't seem related to anything else, but I always find fascinating. And I think we need to make this a little bit of a segment in that each week somebody, perhaps my guest co-host, because I haven't necessarily got one for myself this week, and that makes other people do work that I don't have to do, needs to share something, some kind of a fun fact about their personal running challenges. Would you be on board?
Yeah, I'm on board. I've got one for mine, but I've also looked up this for yours as well. So I think we can share these fun facts.
Oh, that's a good idea.
The average location, I love the mapping on the running challenges. It lets you click on a link and it takes you to a map and shows you where, out of all the park runs you've done, where your average place is. And I love looking at it when you go to a distant one and seeing how minutely it actually moves across the map. So I clicked on my average location today and discovered that my average location that I've gone to is Seymour in Victoria, and it's just out of Seymour. And up until recently, I was actually in a park in Seymour that would have been ideal for a park run, but I've just slipped to the south of it, so I'm no longer in a really good park run territory. But Mel, I was looking at yours, and you're almost at the turnaround point of the Miles Park Run in Queensland. And how amazing is that you'd almost be on a park run course for your average location?
Well, that's pretty cool. I reckon anyone who pretty much exclusively park runs at the same park run would have that park run course as their average location. However, for it to happen to an adventurer who isn't always at the same course and ironically has never actually done that park run, because I haven't actually been to Miles yet, I do find that really interesting. So I'm near the turnaround point, am I? I might have to keep a track and see whether or not I shift about the course when I go do some other events.
You're near the turnaround point. You're just a little bit south of it. So I'd suggest you probably need to head up the coast a little bit and maybe go and do Airlie or somewhere, and that might just bump you up to the turnaround.
Well, if you say I need to go back to Airlie Beach, Talk, another visit to paradise, who am I to disagree with you? The things we do for adventures, eh? It's been another fun episode, Talk. Thank you for joining me once more. It's always fun to have the news crew on board and hear your lovely voices, almost live with me in the studio.
It's been a pleasure, Mel, and I've really enjoyed having a chat. I'm sitting here listening to the rain outside now, and it's bucketing down outside, so I wish we could send a bit of it north.
We wish you could send a bit of it north. There are lots of places that could really do with a bit of a drink right now. But can't send the actual rain, so thanks for sending your voice instead, Tok. And look, let's leave everyone with a little bit of a tease for next week. We are in the final stages of confirming the venue for Palm 2020, or Palm 20 as it were, and we will let everybody know what location it will be at next week. Everybody already knows, if you're a long-time listener, that it's going to be in Adelaide in South Australia, March next year, but we're going to confirm the event in case that in any way informs people's decisions about where they would like to pick their accommodation. It's a safe bet if you want to just get accommodation in Adelaide City. It's not going to be too far out, but just in case, we will reveal that for you all next week.
Really looking forward to the build-up to Palm 20, Mel. It's going to be a great weekend. The last 2 years have been sensational, and I'm really looking forward to catching up with everyone again. It's one of those events where you catch up with all the voices that you hear regularly and you probably only see once a year. So it's a great weekend.
It is, not to mention the fact that it's just 24/7 parkrun for a few days with a whole bunch of other fanatics, and who wouldn't want in on that?
Eating, drinking and parkrun. It sounds like a normal Saturday. A normal Saturday on steroids. It'd be a great day.